The AI impact has been taking place for over 3 years. We've graduated over 140 organizations. You can make some noise. Over 140 organizations have gone through this, and they all deserve a round of applause because we've been building this ship, flying the ship as it was built, right? As you guys know, 3 years ago, AI wasn't the biggest conversation point that everybody was talking about, and that has shifted dramatically. And so we take a lot of pride in being able to spend time with organizations as they're exposed to it. I did keep this slide up because our director of GPMP, make some noise for Emily Francis one time. Emily had a little bit of a bug and she wanted to just stay off the mic, and so we were gonna respect that, and that's why I'm up here. And so there's me. The formatting's a little off, but I did this with like 15 seconds. And yes, AI could probably have helped me, but I haven't figured out that workflow. Maybe Adam's gonna help me out with that. But with that, I did mention somebody's name named Adam, and I'm gonna bring to the stage somebody who's already at the stage, Adam Pulisic of Skilly AI. Make some noise for Adam really quickly. Just to leave one last note about Adam, when I met Adam, I was with a different organization than the Forbes Funds, and it was my introduction to AI. And this guy has not only helped me in the cohort, but also in between the cohorts. And he's helped me explore tools that we did not learn in the cohorts to be able to see what my mind and experience could do with those tools. And so as you guys get part of the ecosystem, you don't only have the Forbes Funds, but you also have amazing partners like Adam Pulisic. And with that, make some noise for Adam.
All right, welcome to Demo Day. So just by way of seeing how many tomatoes I'm gonna get thrown at me, who here loves AI today? Okay, converted here. Fred, are you taking note of this? Okay, who here is like kind of wishy-washy on it, like they're thinking about it? Who here thinks like a Terminator's gonna rise out of the computer? Okay, good, good. Well, this one is for you in particular. So as Jordan mentioned, I'm really privileged to be here. My name's Adam Pulisic. In addition to being one of the entrepreneurs that builds some of the technology we use, I'm also a professor at a university around the corner called Carnegie Mellon, where I've been faculty for about 13 years. And as part of that, I've been really, really lucky with Fred to be partners since his time at the Homewood Children's Village, just thinking about how technology, even way before we started talking about AI, could be a more useful tool to those already doing the hard work. I'm a son of a social worker, right? I really understand that people need to face people, and it's important that we kind of ground this entire demo day, not on just the future of what could be, but on the kind of reward of what everyone is celebrating today. Can I get a big round of applause for everyone who's a social worker, a nonprofit worker, an executive director in the mix? The reason why we say this, and Fred hopefully will wrap us up at the end, is that there are so many organizations that are being forced right now to do more with less. And if you feel you have too many resources or too much staff or too much funding, right, you'd find yourself in a really rare air and minority. And so it's really important that while we never want to lose the humanity, we also don't discount technology and tools that might. Because my number one job is to serve the most number of people with the least amount of dollars, and I should be using everything and anything that I can in order to make that possible. The good news is I'm still not as a professor after 13 years. You don't see the difference, as I'm asking. Okay, so what I'm really trying to say here is as follows. Each one of these organizations stands on their own 2 feet with track records that far beyond my understanding. We all stand on the shoulders of someone. And they came to us not because they weren't doing something, but because they wanted to do more of what they were already doing. And it's really critical that as you think about the role of the cohorts and how we get together and we all kind of lock arms and do this, it's not to diminish the incredible face-to-face work that everyone here has to do, but rather to ask ourselves, what can we stop doing that happens every day in that kind of redundant, repetitive, and monotonous way that technology can give us a hand with? Because we don't want to wait 10 days to reply to those emails or those texts or those intake forms. We want to be right there, on site, in the field, at the school, whatever it might be, helping our community. That make sense? So we're going to hear today from a really, really broad range of nonprofits and local government about what they are kind of being curious about with AI, what their experience was learning together. And what's really important about that learning together statement is that this is a cohort model. Anyone ever been in a cohort? Okay, so we understand that learning individually these days is sort of easier than it's ever been, but I lovingly say this, there's a lot of kind of like AI slop and internet slop out there about kind of teaching us what's practical versus what's aspirational, what's total nonsense. And so over the last 3 years, and as Jordan's mentioned, about 140 organizations ago, we started asking ourselves, what are 3 really big areas that would actually make a material difference at your annual report, to your board, and ultimately to the community you serve? Now, if you are in nonprofit, you know what I mean, but does anybody here have a problem they are trying to solve in southwestern Pennsylvania? Raise your hand. Okay, so that's cohort number 1. It says humanity-centered design because we want to design solutions and experiences and ideas and programs for everybody, but sometimes we don't have enough time to invent, let alone reinvent, programs that happen every day. So what I've been lucky enough to partner with the Forbes Funds on over the last 3 years is using artificial intelligence to simply solve problems faster, right? The humans are always where the lightning strikes. There's no replacement for lived experience or the connection you have human to human. But sometimes you don't have time to read 10,000 websites to learn all the funders, the facts, and the stats across the entire internet in like 45 minutes. Or sometimes you've been doing something so well and so long that maybe the times or the sands are kind of shifting, and you need to think about it from a different point of view, and sometimes that's hard, at least for me. And so what we do in cohort 1 is create a playbook for every nonprofit to know when and how to use AI, not to replace their thinking, but to amplify it, right? Not to replace those staff meetings, but to help people become more prepared. And that's the advantage and the theme you're hopefully gonna hear again and again and again today. Some of the people in cohort 1 even went as far as designing their first mobile application. Now, I assure you that not everyone, and maybe 0 people in the cohort were actually computer scientists or had written computer programs before. But 100% of the group realized that AI is not a replacement from anyone on their team, but rather a substitute for $300 an hour consultants, right? It's not a replacement for research, but it is a replacement for a $5,000 to $10,000 grant that could be repurposed into more day-to-day activities, operational capacity in order for you to sustain. So we're gonna hear a little bit about cohort 1, the act and art of problem solving using AI to amplify your genius, to accelerate your research, and to ultimately articulate this so that you don't spend hours and hours, let alone days and days, simply getting organized. Okay, same page? All right, wonderful. Now, if you are lucky enough, like Lorenzo's gonna show us here in just a couple minutes here as our first kickoff speaker, to build an incredible program or a piece of theater or art that really moves the head, hearts, and minds of everybody in southwestern PA, you gotta go ask for money, right? So who here does development or asks for money for a living in some form or another? Everyone should have their hand up if you're a nonprofit, right? The idea is development work is hard. Now, in the private sector, what do we call development work? Sales. Now, when I say that, there's like this recoil and trigger in the nonprofit room because, like, you don't get it, Adam. I tell stories, people give me money. And that is historically and hopefully will be always true because I've never met more effective storytellers than in the nonprofit community. There is subject matter expertise, perspective, lived moments, right, that cannot be replicated no matter how well you talk to AI or no matter how many times you create snazzy videos or social media posts. But the reality of it is that scarcity is driving a lack of attention. And right now in your funding ecosystem, while many pillars of a household are really critical, a lot of the most basic pillars are the ones that are getting prioritized, which means we're kind of in a pendulum swing of lopsidedness where only a handful of organizations are densely collecting all those funds. So the question becomes, how do we grab the attention, how do we grab the focus of small dollar donors, corporate partners, large foundations, and everybody in between? And that's exactly what cohort 2 is all about. Now, if you've never heard this nerd expression, it's called ethical persuasion and influence. What that means in simple terms is the ability to ask for something, but not be like a slime ball, kind of snake oil car salesman about it. Apologies if anyone's been a car salesman. The idea is you're not gonna selectively frame the data. You're not gonna leave certain time periods out just because you had a little bit of a bump in the road. It's all about bringing your truth forward and making sure that how you say it is the absolute best way for someone to hear it. Because the thing we point out again and again in cohort 2, as you'll hear, is everyone in this room is probably an exceptionally good communicator, but we have a tendency to do 2 really bad habits we try to train you out of. 1, we try to stop you from projecting how you like to hear communication and messages onto everybody else. Sounds easier than it is, right? If I'm a visionary, I want Aki to be a visionary, right? I want Fred to be a visionary. I want Lorenzo to be a visionary. But if Lorenzo over here is crunching numbers on me, right? He only cares about the zeros and ones and the ROI of every dollar. It's going to be a little bit of a lost story. So we spend a lot of time making sure you can listen actively to the person who's communicating with you and figure out what their reward system is. Now, the second one is even more important because most of us have one presentation we likely give to donors, maybe 2 or 3 if we're having like a really good window. Unfortunately, averaging everybody's reward system into one reward system means you're 100% wrong. You're not like 20% right. And how do we figure out how to make more presentations and more podcasts and more pitches and infographics and social media posts? Well, you can clone yourself, which would be my preference, or we might be able to sneak in a little bit of AI. And so cohort 2 is really all about the ability to take those problems you solved and those programs you developed in cohort 1 and learn how to communicate in a way that activates the person you're talking to in a remarkable way. It teaches you how to change point of views and write different styles of emails and annual reports so that you don't communicate the same way to every person. And then when it is 10 o'clock at night, because most of us have been there, and you're trying to figure out how to build an agenda for tomorrow or a report or to summarize legislation or regulation or whatever it might be, this is how you ethically use AI to make sure that your voice is the consistent part of that. You don't lose culture or tone of what you mean to communicate, but you don't need to read 3,000 pages of legislation to get the high notes. All right, does that make sense? Okay, so now, if we build new wonderful programs or reinvent them, we learn how to communicate and ask for dollars and resources and in-kind donations in a new way. You bring ourselves to the third component, which is where especially my technological heart is, because it's a technology that we built out of Carnegie Mellon called Skilly. But what it really is in simple words is an AI employee that does all the stuff you don't want to do in terms of answering questions. Many of us don't want to work at 10 o'clock at night. Most of us believe in the idea of vacation. For those that have never heard that word in the room, vacation. The important part here is you can't work 24/7. You don't speak 400 languages. You don't have the patience always in 8 o'clock at night on a Friday to be available when oftentimes the people we serve are available to ask those questions. We want to make sure that the broadest swath of people in Southwestern PA fundamentally are aware of the wonderful things you have in the moment you have them. I don't want to let a single one of these wonderful donors walk away without asking the 3 questions that they just simply needed in order to cut a check. Does that make sense? All right, so we're going to see all 3 of these things today. But again, this is really not any of us hooligans up here. Hang Lorenzo Conham up on here. Can we get a round of applause for Lorenzo being best dressed? So Lorenzo will do a proper introduction of himself and his organization in just a minute, and then we'll hand the mic back to Jordan and kind of keep us moving until the end. But I just want to say, Lorenzo, do you mind me asking how old you are?
72.
So I just want to highlight for everybody that's thinking in their head, this isn't for me, or it's not my thing, or I don't do AI. Lorenzo participated in all 3 cohorts, using AI to problem solve, using AI to do more effective development, and actually literally launching an AI employee on his site to collectively aggregate all the incredible interest of community locations and spaces, all the universities and everything in between. So I'll hand it over to Lorenzo. Can we get one last round of applause?
Out with the, I'll keep it for you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming out to hear our presentation today. As they said, I am 72, but I'll be 73 next month. My story is I came out of the University of Pittsburgh under the tutelage of Dr. Vernell Lilly and Rob Petty. I was there at the same time that August Wilson was there, and he wasn't famous. My goal was to go to New York City and join the workshops and go to Hollywood and become a movie star. I was 23 years old, 24 years old. But I also had a business background, so I decided to use my business education because I said I'm going to save some money, and then I'm going to save up some money, and then I'm going to go to New York. Bad idea. Because 30 years later, I was still a professional salesman. But I knew in my heart that my true love was film and theater. And so I had a incident. It was a very cold winter day. And I was on my way to my office, and I had my company computer. Wow. Which was very heavy. Those of you who have a company computer know they're very heavy. And I had a real serious chest pain. And I was a person who did not want to go to the hospital for no reason. So I get to my office and I said, I'm not going to the doctor, but then I convinced myself to go. I'm glad I did. So to make it real quick, I ended up finding out that I had a serious blockage in my artery and that I needed surgery, and one thing led to another. I ended up in intensive care, and when that ordeal was over, I had to rest for an entire month. I went out into my backyard. And for the first time in my life, I actually understood what this thing is all about. I could see the squirrels running up the tree and the leaves swaying, and I could just understand, how precious life really is. And so I asked myself the question, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? And I said, I want to go to school and I want to become a writer. So at 53 years of age, I went back to school and I became a writer. And that's how I ended up here.
Yes.
But what I want to talk about today is the flagship play that we're doing. It's called The Awakening. And The Awakening is very, very important in that we deal with the pressures that young people in our community have to deal with every day. And those of you who work with young people know the truth in what I'm about to say. A lot of them don't even believe they're gonna make it to 18 or 22. They have to deal with so much trauma that they actually don't believe they're gonna make it to age 22. So our story centers around a young man who, he made it to 22, he made it to 23, but he's on the wrong path. And he needs to understand that. So, okay, what we learned in this cohort and why it's so important, we have some issues with being able to communicate with our audience after our production was completed and being able to get individuals to be able to get onto our website and find out what's going on with us, what we're doing, and how they can get involved with us. So as you can see, we have inserted the start the conversation so they can, audience members can go into the website and deal with the chat box. Of course, that's important because neither myself nor my team can be there intercepting these conversations, which tremendously changed our situation. And then the beautiful part is that we can go from storytelling to actually being able to measure the change by, gathering up the information, using the information to get out to our audience and individuals who's interested in getting behind our work so we can get the play a lot more visibility, a lot more accessibility, and our goal is to get young people and their parents and their grandparents all multi-generational, all on the same page, and get the community leaders. I was talking to the gentleman who's the Chamber of Commerce, talking to the people at the Urban League. I'm a former board member of the NAACP, and what we want to do, we want to get people very, very in tune and sensitive to how do we solve the problem with our youth. And we want to use art, storytelling as that vehicle. That's it.
One of the things about Brother Lorenzo, I wish we had longer during these presentations so you guys could see the full breadth, and it's the same thing for all these organizations. But Lorenzo had 2 interns. He had Daniel, and Peter working on the project. And when we went through cohort 1 and we ran through some of the stakeholder mapping prompts that Adam engineered, what we found was an ability to be able to re-engage with Irene Sparks, to be able to re-engage with Matthew Flowers, to be able to re-engage with Raheem Perry, and to be able to consider how the technology can pull us together. And I've just seen transformational change, not only for Lorenzo and figuring out how we're not just doing keyboard shortcuts no more, we're training up AIs, to also translating it for the team. And the next organization that we have coming up here is a special one. And I'm gonna let Brother Kevin Tyler come on down and talk for a second here. Come on down, come on, Brother Kevin. To give you guys a little perspective, and he'll give you a little bit of this background probably as well, but he was engaged, Kevin was engaged when they got a DHS contract to be able to do reentry work here in Pittsburgh, okay? As they did their research, and you guys know this, a lot of times the funders will, or the county will, or the state will invest in a program that might not even be in Pittsburgh. And we in Pittsburgh, every time that happens, it's kind of like guarded, and we don't really know. And so for Kevin to responsibly and respectfully reach out and find key stakeholders to engage with, that was the theory, that was the beginning of the theory of change that implemented for RICA. And so with that, please make some noise for Kevin Tyler.
Thank you. And I'm going to have my team speak as well. So this is a group effort here. So good afternoon. My name's Kevin Tyler. I'm the executive director of the RICA Foundation. RICA is an organization that was founded by and is predominantly run by individuals who were formerly incarcerated. RICA exists to support individuals and families who were impacted by incarceration. Far too often, they are negatively impacted by the operational gaps in our justice system. These gaps show up in housing, in education, in behavioral health supports, and other things like struggling through trauma, long-term trauma, which is real, and also supervision requirements that oftentimes don't support the individual, but they simply put more barriers in place. That's why RICA's approach is important. When you're trying to gain stability and sustain stability, it's important to have someone walking with you who has that shared experience. They can help you to put a plan together, to connect with the right resources so that when that crisis comes, that next crisis comes, because it will, you're prepared. It's important to understand that we're not trying to change the work that's being done out here. RICA is a backbone organization that's looking to support the work that's being done by institutions, service providers, and the individuals who are directly impacted by incarceration. Our collaboration with the Forbes funds gave us access to AI training, which in turn helped the organization to look at things in a different light. It activated possibilities that we didn't know existed. These possibilities go from AI. We're looking at building a help desk, a reentry help desk, which we think is very creative. But on the AI front, Richard Brown and Kendra Dela Cruz are going to talk about what we're doing with AI, not using it as a shortcut, but using it as a tool to support the work that we're doing in the reentry landscape.
How y'all doing? Yeah, no doubt. My name is Richard Brown. I serve with the RICA Foundation. As someone with lived experience, I know how difficult it can be to transition, especially when you don't have a clear roadmap. When I came home, I needed access to the right information, the right people, and the right steps at the right time. Through the AI class, we learned how to use ChatGPT to strengthen our operations, not just our ideas. We use it to help us organize our data, improve tracking, analyze participant process, and help us understand better outcomes inside of our Airtable.
We use the Airtable to track client referrals, implement the changes within the system, communicate with our partners, as well as take our pre and post assessments and analyze that data and see what the shortcomings are coming within the system so we can be that backbone support. We've also took ChatGPT and implemented it into helping us create a mobile app that's designed for those in reentry. Why this is important is because we know what we needed when we transitioned home. We also have it to where they have resources in the chat or in the app where it's navigating resources in their community, helps them to keep track of their goals, communicate with their coach, and know what steps to take next.
Because for us, AI isn't replacing the human connection. It's allowing us to organize our work so that our human connection becomes more consistent, more responsive, and easier to scale. So we're showing y'all what our work has becoming, and with the right support, how we can take it to the next level. Who this app is for, the RICA Foundation app concept, is for returning citizens and justice-impacted families and all community partners. What it does is centralize reentry resources, connects users to their coaching support, help users track progress and goals, keep people linked to the reentry ecosystems around them, but the long-term vision is for this to be a pathway from crisis navigation to stability planning. What we're looking for, we want to do this right, so we know we have to have the responsible partners. We're looking for support from funders, app developers, cybersecurity professionals, legal advisors, data experts, and institutional partners to provide us with legal advice, cybersecurity, and the referral process. It's not about building an app with infrastructure. It's about creating a system that people who were asked to rebuild their lives without infrastructure so they can have the infrastructure.
And one of the strongest points that came from the AI class is that this information did not stop with Richard and Kendra. It flows through our whole team. And the greatest lesson that we learned is that AI is a powerful tool when it is shared. It's a very powerful tool when it is shared. So when they brought it back to us, it showed us how it could assist us to communicate, coordinate, and organize better.
It also helped us see that technology isn't just for those that have access, right? It helped us see that community-based organizations like RICA can actually take this information and help people in the community. Another biggest lesson that was learned is that collaboration builds capacity. Forest Fund invested knowledge into RICA. Kendra and Richard brought that knowledge back to us. And we're now taking that knowledge to strengthen the way we work together and how we assist the community.
Yeah. So look, what's next for RICA is clear. We're seeking funding and strategic partners to help move this work from concept to full implementation. We're asking for support in 5 critical areas: staff capacity, app development, cybersecurity and privacy infrastructure, data tracking and evaluation, and curriculum accreditation. Funding RECA means investing in a community-rooted organization that already has the trust, lived experience, and vision needed to serve people impacted by incarceration. We're not asking you to fund an idea on paper. We're asking you to help strengthen a working model that is already moving. Our invitation is simple. Partner with RECA, help to fund the infrastructure, and help us make sure that no one impacted by incarceration is left behind. On behalf of the RECA team, thank you.
The mic's hot. Oh, they went crazy on that, I ain't gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie at all. The journey with RECA, as Brother Kevin said, it started from reaching out and trying to figure out what the ecosystem is. And again, it's like respectful and responsible. And Fred and I doing a 2-day training with them was a really wonderful opportunity to meet the team. And so that's why I'm so excited and why I had that energy, because I just met them in like January, case may be, and to see this transition and to see how empowered they all feel is truly humbling to experience. And so with that, we're gonna keep it moving right along. Yeah, make some noise. We're bringing Miss Jennifer up to the stage. She's right here. And she's gonna tell you the story. And then I'll follow up if she misses anything, because I think it's a really, really powerful story. But seriously though, make some noise for Jennifer one time, and good luck.
And the one thing that AI has built, or this cohort, I don't know, is apparently confidence, because to follow these guys, thank you. and the beautiful thing is that, I'm going out of order, the community that's built here, because I had no idea what I was stepping into when I heard about the Forbes Fund through a series of events that would bring me to this day. The relationships that we're getting to build and the work that we're going to get to do together, we get to change lives. So I'm gonna start now. RISE is an organization that provides resources, advocacy, housing for people who have experienced domestic and sexual violence, both of which I have. This mission is personal to me. I see the long-term effect of it. This work has been going on by me personally before RISE ever had a name. The phone would ring and I would hit the streets and I would bring them to wherever they needed to go. That was me in my apartment after I got away, hitting the streets, bringing people home to live with me because there was nowhere for people to go. It's a personal journey for me. Because of this cohort, RISE has been launched not just months, but years ahead, and the ability, the things that we've been able to do just in these few months, seriously. And if you visit my table, you'll see that I made those pamphlets. And when I tell you that, what I used ChatGPT for before, or any AI, was to look up cookie recipes, I'm not kidding. And I probably don't want me to know that, but honestly, that's truly how it was. What I'm able to do now, from creating those things to finding funders to finding community, we're changing lives in this. We truly are, and I get to be part of that, and I'm so thankful that I get to be here today in this space.
Bench was perfect.
I know I know that I missed more, but I'm just thankful, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to be here today.
It was funny because as we go through the cohorts, like, RISE didn't have a logo yet when we were making these slides. RISE has a logo now, and we didn't make it. That had nothing to do with us. Catherine, was it Catherine that did it? Okay, and Dr. Miriam Knight, both of which were part of the team. So as Jennifer went through the cohorts, she was able to re-engage or engage with people that were already in the ecosystem. And then because we were all working and prototyping this stuff together, it gave her consultants what they needed to have the fuel to keep the project moving forward. As you guys know, with consultants, sometimes, they'll drop whatever give you what you need, and then there's like this waiting game. And so for us to be able to kind of like keep the thing moving forward is really, really impactful. With that, I get to bring up two really good friends. First of all, as an organization, most of you guys are familiar. I'm not going to ruin it. You guys are going to introduce First T. If you miss anything, then I'll fill it in. But I want to bring Eric Kinnaman and Jamie Hayden up to the stage. We are partnered with First T. Yeah, make some noise. This is a kind of cool example, and I'm going to grab a charger so this laptop doesn't die. But we are partnered with First T in a number of different ways. And so the Transformative Leadership Cohort, which we'll mention a little bit later, for emerging leaders, for C-suite executives, for people that are interested in exploring a networking element here in the city of Pittsburgh, they're one of our partners as well. So with that, I'm going to hand the microphone over to Eric to kick it off.
Thank you so much for having us. My name is Eric Kinnaman. I'm the program director for First T Pittsburgh. Here's a little bit about us. If you're not familiar, First T is an organization that uses golf to teach life lessons and character development to young people who start at age 5 all the way through age 18. And this is actually our 25th year, so I had a lot of success. We've served over 32,000 kids over that time frame. Last year we did 1,743. This year we're on pace to do well over 2,000, including adapting programs for adaptive and inclusive communities, so people with special needs. And we're really making a push to get into the underserved communities to make sure that kids that don't necessarily see golf as an option for them, see it as an option for them because they do that with us. Now, what I want to focus on here, actually, let me go back, sorry. No? So what I want to focus on here is we have 12 program locations, 150 plus volunteers. It's actually closer to 200, I think. And then, like I said, over 2,000 kids. Over the course of we do programming year round. It's nonstop. Trying to coordinate that many locations for that many kids and that many volunteers to keep the kids safe and make sure they have the best, most impactful time possible is hard. We use a customer relationship management software that isn't the best. We have a national headquarters that is fantastic. They help us troubleshoot all the issues that we have, which are plentiful. But our system is basically a series of spreadsheets that need to be managed by our entire team. And it's not that it's difficult to do, it's just very easy to make one mistake that throws everything off. So one of our things we're trying to solve with AI, and Jordan was extremely gracious in helping us with this, was develop an app that was going to allow us to collaborate with everybody that makes our programming work. I won't get into all the details, but it's a lot. And there's a lot of apps out there that would have done it to get us to about 90% of the way there, but that extra 10% is where we really need it. So we dove into this knowing that to develop an app, you're probably going to have to spend tens of thousands of dollars. We're prepared to do that because we knew that by not doing it, our entire team was distracted. They weren't fulfilling the mission to the best of their absolute ability because they had to do all this administrative stuff. So Jordan sat down with us and we rolled up our sleeves. And through AI, we were able to put the framework of an app together that was going to do everything we needed to do. And about 20 minutes in, Jordan says, hey, AI just discovered that your current CRM can do all of these things. So not only are we going to have this tremendous ROI where our staff is going to be able to focus on the mission instead of administrative work, but we're going to also be able to develop a system that we can roll out to the other 150 chapters of First T across the country and save everybody a ton of time and really make an international impact. So.
I am Jamie, and apparently I'm the only one that has brought in a piece of paper up to the podium with her. So just to make it pretty simple and kind of piggyback off of what Adam shared earlier today, I'm on the development side of First T Pittsburgh, so I'm out in the community asking for support and money. And usually I'm using the same template for each sponsor, but I have now been able to use AI, ChatGPT, to kind of more specialize it based off of the archetype. So as Adam mentioned, whether you're a visionary, number cruncher, and so on. So just taking stuff I've already created, making it into a different format so that it's understood by the sponsor better. And then I have been really getting into ChatGPT and using GPTs. So Adam helped me set up a prompt builder in there, and I've kind of built off of that to make some sponsored meta ads, sponsorship messaging, social media content, and newsletter blurbs. It's just an easy way to kind of go back to something where you've already provided all the resources, ask it to do something, and it kind of feeds off of that and provides you that content. So my next slide is just kind of an example of literally provided some branding stuff and some generic First Tee Pittsburgh information, and it literally spit out 12 social media graphic ideas along with the content. And that took me 20 seconds.
Thank you. So First Tee, again, partnered with the Forbes Funds in Transformative Leadership. Eric, the executive director, had some of the staff go through the program, and at the time it was kind of like, what are we doing in this program? And like everybody's super busy and strapped. So I want you guys to make noise one more time for First Tee. It's been an incredible experience working with them. And maybe I'll figure out how to swing a golf club this year. So for the rest of the presenters, this is the difference of if you hold the mic all the way up, guys, just so you know. It's really difficult though, like, and I totally get it. I'm mentioning it because I'm getting text message notifications on my wrist for my dad, and he's like, turn up the microphone. Normally, so I'm an audio guy, I'm an engineer, videographer. Normally, like, I have full control, I'm gonna handle it. I do not. Dad, I can't turn it up today. I apologize. But with that, we're gonna go ahead and bring up another program that is near and dear to my heart. When I was building up tech praise programming at Tech 25, and we were contracted through the Stop the Violence Fund to do activations in Market Square. We won't talk about Market Square for now. But when we were doing that, Wes and I were talking back and forth time and time again, just trying to find ways to collaborate, and we will. And I've shared program stuff, and we will continue this. But it's been really, really, really powerful to have them in the program because I already know them, and it's really, really special to be able to rapid prototype with people that I'm familiar with in our community. And so with that, please make some noise for Katrina Hawthorne and, of course, Wes White.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the tip, Jordan. I'll hold it up to the lip. All right, so hello, everyone. My name is Wes White. This is Katrina Hawthorne. We're with Youth Places. Youth Places serves ages 12 through 18 at 6 locations, providing year-round programming to support them and guide them on their journey into adulthood.
So we got introduced to AI about last year. We really tried to take it seriously. I was actually lucky enough to come to Demo Day for Cohort 3 and see some of like the skilly builders and stuff. I was sitting in the audience. I didn't know what I was watching and learning. And I came back and I said to Wes, I said, we got to be a part of this conversation. AI and nonprofit work is definitely moving forward, and we need to be a part of that.
In that same breath, I also attended a demo day. As Jordan mentioned, we had some conversations on how we can collaborate. Emily and I both are also on board of directors for the Queen's Gambit organization, and we've had conversations of how we can continue our AI work. Through that, and obviously support of the Forbes Fund, we landed here, and we were able to participate in this cohort to basically come up with not just learning the fundamentals as other organizations have highlighted, but how can we create a human-centered design to further provide a tool, create a tool to support our young people. So when Katrina attended that, we came back into YP, had some internal conversations amongst the team, and what seemed like a far-fetched kind of future idea became a reality for us. So we worked through some prompts that Adam graciously created for us. Thank you again. And we were able to explore some additional AI tools, building on those core challenges that YP faces every day. We identified 2 directions that we wanted to go, and with us being a youth-centered organization, landed, of course, on doing something that was for our young people, a tool that they can use to help further resources and access to those resources as they navigate their journey through life and into adulthood. So we also landed on our central question and problem statement, which was, why do youth, especially those in underserved communities, struggle to access and use real-time information about available resources, and what systemic barriers prevent effective communication and awareness? So we spoke with some direct service staff. Obviously, the hustle and bustle during program time becomes difficult. Being able to provide real-time resources and programming resources can sometimes be a challenge. I myself also applied some of my learned knowledge as a former YP kid, and being someone that go through the program, realizing that resources are always there, it's about the access and the knowledge. So what can we do to further that option and make this a reality for our young people?
So as we were a part of cohort 1 and we were learning the different prompts and tools and skills, we decided that we should maybe move forward with what an app could look like, especially for our young people. They're 12 to 18, they're on their phones, they're on social media, they are accessing apps, so they should have one for youth places to have everything they need centralized in one location. Like Wes said, we're in 6 locations. All of our sites look different, just like our beautiful neighborhoods in Pittsburgh do. So everything is changing all the time. So our resource app is that one-stop shop for kids to come while they're in school, what's going on at youth places today, what programs are being offered, what's happening. Even something as simple as what are they having for dinner? 55% of our youth come to youth places specifically for dinner. So being able to check, hey, this is what Miss Nat's cooking today. It's kind of fun, and it's a great way to get them in the door on a reoccurring basis. Also, the one thing that we definitely wanted to do through this was make it scalable. Neither Wes or I are any sort of software developers. My background is in social work, so I'm always looking to make sure that our youth have the resources they need to succeed. So obviously, seeing what could be future-wise for this is exponential. So obviously, we're youth-centered, so they're always at the forefront, but also our parent and guardian, right? They don't just stick with us, they go home at the end of the day, so what can we provide for them as well? Even tapping further into our communities, we are there. So even if they don't have a youth, there is a resident there that might need something, and we would love to be able to provide that. So the scalability of this app can be forthcoming and very, very exciting to see where that could go outside of just Wes and I and the tools that we were able to have in cohort 1. So the app and what it could look like, listen, it is at the very, very forefront of this. This is not our repertoire, so we are starting, right? So the landing page has the youth participant, and that's where we started. When Wes and I were talking, that's our main focus always, so that's where we started. We know that they're coming to look at our YP sites, our current programs, our events, any announcements. If you're in youth work, you know that things are changing at the drop of a hat, so we want that to have access for our kids as well. And then for me, obviously, having that resources. If you hand a kid a piece of paper, it's most likely to get lost. I want them to be able to drop that barrier and have what they need in order to gain that resource, even if we are not present for it. So this is kind of what it could look like. We're really excited to see what future this could have at YP, not just for our young people, but also for our families and community members as well.
Absolutely. So as Katrina said, we're in the very beginning stages of the process, but without this AI cohort, we would not have been able to initiate that action, understand how AI can further support not just our org, our staff, but our young people who we serve on a day-to-day basis. So with that, we just wanted to say thank you. Thank you to the Forbes Fund, to Jordan, to Emily, Fred. Thank you to our president, CEO, Ms. Cynthia James, over here in the front row. Literally for trusting us to take on this project. She's been a part of cohorts and received this information as well, but understanding that we were able to potentially create a humanity-centered design to enhance and close and shrink the gap of resources that can be provided to our young people is why we do the work that we do. So again, we also want to show appreciation to Adam and then also our peers for sharing in this learning journey with us. So again, bringing this vision to light, we obviously would love to continue the conversation on how this becomes a reality and not just an idea. So if you want more information or seeking more information about our goals with this app, please feel free to approach us. We do have a table outside. We can provide contact information. But true to us and our organization, none of this is possible without a community and a village. So thank you guys. Truly appreciate it.
It's amazing. This was not something that would have happened in cohorts in previous years because the technology wasn't there yet. Okay, so and that's the kind of powerful part. And we're trying to figure out like what is the branding situation? Because right now the people that went through cohort 1, 2, and 3 2 or 3 years ago, it's a different cohort. So like, how do we? All right, if you guys have any ideas about that, let me know. Post the show here. But we're gonna keep this thing moving. We're gonna keep this thing moving right along. The story that you guys are seeing, there's like a lot of different pieces. There's people that are coming in through different doors to engage with the Forbes funds. But there's also some courageous people that work in sectors that really do not move fast and whose technology needs a real priority of security and privacy, right? But the technology is here. And so for those individuals that are brave enough to be testing this technology and to listen to people and like Adam, who is graciously guiding us through this process and showing us all these new tools, this is what it looks like. And so Dr. G, I'm gonna introduce Dr. G and let her take the mic. And if she misses anything, I'm gonna jump back on. And this is Robert Elliott as well from the AAA. Please make some noise for Allegheny County Area Agency on Aging.
What? So, this is awesome. I'm so glad to be here. In fact, that was a great segue, Jordan, because 4 cohorts ago, I was in the first cohort, and I took all 3. But let me take you back before that, because actually what happened was I got a flyer from Mr. Brown, and I had no idea what this was. All I knew was that it was something about AI, something I didn't know anything about. Forbes Funds was doing it, and I wanted to be a part. So I actually blocked off 3 months of my time. I'm the director of the Area Agency on Aging at Allegheny County. I blocked off 3 months, 4 or 5 hours a day every Wednesday, because I knew whatever it was, I needed to know. And not only did I need to know, I wanted to know all of it because I was going to be bringing my staff in, and if they had any questions or anything they were curious about, I needed to understand the whole thing. So that was, is that 2, 3 years ago now? Yeah. So I did that. We did that then, and we built Skilly. And we're gonna, Rob has become Skilly, her name is Aria, Aging Resource Information Assistant. And Rob is like her uncle. But I wanted to just encourage anyone in the room who looks at the time commitment and wonders how they could possibly make it work. Let me tell you, I have saved so much time. One evening, I actually had a 60-page document, the Older Americans Act. I needed to brief the director, then Aaron Dalton, then director of DHS, about what was coming down the pike, what the new legislation was, and she wanted to hear about it the next day. I was like, what? I'm gonna be up all night doing this. But I used the skills that I had gained from the cohort, was able to put the document into AI, give it a proper prompt, and was able to provide slides in less than 30 minutes. Went home, had dinner, probably played a game. You know, we had a great evening. So my point is that it's worth the time, it's worth the investment. The other thing I wanted to mention was the evolving software, the evolving technology. Jordan mentioned, you know, that they were thinking about branding and how are they going to brand this, because it just keeps changing. But I'm here to tell you that I took this 2 years ago, took all 3 cohorts, and when I had the opportunity to do it again, I did it again. And I learned so much. I learned so much even the second time going through it, because that's how much the technology has changed. I'm actually I'm actually building out GPTs. I'm actually, I have one GPT, I call it Dr. AAA. Government has a lot of documentation. The program directives for aging, there's probably like 36, 37 chapters that we have to be responsible to, requirements, program directives. Keeping up with all of that is pretty much impossible for one person. But yet, as leaders, we're always called, we're responsible for the product that our staff puts together. So what I did was I built out a specialized GPT that has all of those documents inside of it. So I was in a meeting just a couple weeks ago with the director. He asked me a question about, I don't even know, it was some like arcane question about, how many bubbles are there in a bubble gum. I don't know, it was something he was asking me. But the point was that I was able to actually go to the GPT, ask it a question about the program directives, and it gave me the answer that I would have had to go to my staff person, ask her to give me an answer a day later. So this is the type of power that we have in our hands. So I'm going to pass this off to Rob because he is going to tell you all about ARIA.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Robert Elliott. I'm a supervisor with the senior line at the Area Agency on Aging. We're basically like the front door for our agency. So we get a lot of calls daily about the services we provide. We take protective services calls. We do intakes for the different programs that we have. How our staff has been using Skilly so far is we use it for our consumers, which are usually the older adults or their families. And it's saving us a lot of time on us getting calls on the senior line and people asking us questions that could be answered by the AI. For example, someone calling and saying, what's your address or what's your hours or what's the location of a senior center near me? They're able to just ask the AI and they don't have to call into the senior line. Some of the things we did to train our AI is...
Let me add one thing to that. What Rob is talking about here, it's not just for the older adults, but it's also for pharmacy. For how many phone calls do I get on a Saturday when they know I'm the director and they say, hey, I need to know, who do I call? My neighbor is wandering in the street. Her caregiver's not there, what do I do? This is the type of tool that if you have it on your phone, you can simply click a button and it'll tell you exactly where to go and how to get those resources.
And also, even for our staff, when they're getting calls, if they don't know the answer, to the question they're getting, they could sit at their desk, type in the question, and ARIA would be able to answer that question. So that's really good for the staff to be able to use that. Some of the ways we trained ARIA was we went to each department and got the documents they use, their training documents, all the information with their department, and we uploaded all this information into Skilly. When we started this, it was a couple years ago, and maybe one of the things we did a little different was I interviewed the people in our agency. So I went to every different department, interviewed them, asked them maybe the most 10 frequently asked questions, and they answered that. One of the reasons we did that is because Skilly is able to take the tone of our agency. So they're able to see how we talk to our consumers, the way we deal with them, and Skilly would be able to deal with them in the same way and use the same tone with the people that we deal with.
Yeah. There we go. Landed.
All right.
Landed, Rob.
So basically, so far, this has been saving us a lot of time, with people calling in and also with our staff using this. And sometimes it surprises me even. It shows me resources that I didn't even know existed that are on our websites and different documents that we have.
Yeah.
So it's definitely been helpful so far.
And if Rob doesn't know it, it's really hard to find because he's amazing. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen. So I promise you, we're about to land the plane. I'm sure some of Chef Mike's delicacies are still available out there and all of that kind of fun stuff. And I'm going to be handling this back to Adam after we get through a couple. But I wanted to mention that the HERE Foundation, Leon Ford, of course, and Cindy Haynes and Amber Jackson were a part of our cohort. They're at a conference, and so they were unable to be here today. But I promised Cindy I would show at least the logo. And really quickly, if anybody knows Cindy Haynes, first of all, If you know Leon's story, y'all know Leon's story, right? Yeah, make some noise. Whoops, I just hit a button I didn't mean to hit. Cindy is from the South Hilltop. She's from Mount Oliver, if y'all don't know. Cindy is a traditional fundraiser. Cindy is very traditional. She knows what she's doing. She is very, very good at her job. So what does it look like for somebody like Cindy Haynes to go through these cohorts and to be able to use some of these engineered prompts? What it did was reinforce for her what she does and her knowledge, but it also allowed her to be able to test out different ways to say things or pitch in the archetype stuff. She was able to experiment without losing time, which is a big consideration for her. She's not, I mean, there's probably great workflows that she could implement and all of that. Yeah, sure. But she's locked in and she does her thing. Why should she learn something new? And that is something that is a human condition just generally and a very American thing also. And so I am encouraging all of you to challenge yourselves and to consider, even for the things that you're an expert at, that you know and you can do it faster than anybody else. Get some office hours with Adam, get some office hours with the Forbes funds, and let's put that theory to the test. You never know. You never know. So with that, I'm going to bring up Shar Lassane. Shar, make some noise for Shar one time. I'm gonna let Shar tell you a little bit about how she's a part of the Forbes Funds ecosystem, what was in the cohort, and the project that she's working on.
Good afternoon. Okay, so I would just like for you all to take a quick journey with me. I would ask that you put your phones down, and I would ask that you would close your eyes for a moment. And so as you close your eyes, I would like for you to take a deep breath in, a deep breath out. Take a deep breath in, and now release that breath. And while your eyes are closed, I would like for you to think about what you hear, think about what you feel, what you smell, and maybe even what you taste. Now open your eyes. Is there anyone willing to say what their experience was in that quiet moment? Yes. Slow down. Anyone else?
Calm my nerves.
Calm your nerves.
Pause.
Pause. And yes, those things are important. Why? Because we're actually in a room, so while I was taking a pause, what I felt was the energy from the lights beating down on me. I also heard the wiring from the air conditioning system, right, that keeps us cool and keeps us calm. I heard phones dropping on the ground and different things like that. And so what I do, and what we do at Micro Macro Solutions, is that we actually systematically integrate multidisciplinary information, quantitative, qualitative, right, data set frameworks, and then we look at them, and then what we do is we architect, right, these evidence-based solutions. And so my background is in agricultural and biological engineering. And I've been afforded the opportunity to study in many different fields, stem cell research, environmental toxins, biorenewable resources, and different things like that. And so what I am doing is taking what I know in my background to now bring it to what it looks like in the nonprofit sector. And so a lot of times we don't have that opportunity to actually, hey, can I talk to the scientist? Can I talk to the engineer? Like a lot of the corporations out there do, right? They have the money, they can pay this top dollar. And so what we do is that we are a for-profit entity, but we do service for-profit, but mainly nonprofit organizations, helping with community work. And so when I heard about the AI, and thank you, Fred, for the invitation to join the cohort, that most definitely was a catalyst to the journey that I am on now. And I really was unsure, because being of the scientific and engineering background, the ethics portion was really eating at me, is whether or not I should really use AI to do my work. And so I tossed and I'm like, I don't know. And then maybe it was maybe a day or the day of that the cohort started that I told Jordan, I said, I'll do it. Because then I needed to know. I needed to know for myself if this AI thing was really going to be a help or a hindrance. And so now that I've taken AI, I have at least saved 10.5 hours a week of doing work. And that's a lot. And so I'm trying to figure out, what do I do with this 10.5 hours, right? Like, where do I go with this thing? And I really was unsure. And I think the component that really got me was that I am in control of the AI tool. And so are you. And so that you need to make the AI tool work for you. Let it learn you. The relationship that I spoke of in the beginning of how the lights are working in all these systems, we must build relationships. And so I encourage you to build a relationship with your AI. Build a relationship with the Ford Fund, right? So that way you can continue to move forward. I am all about solutions. I am all about forward progress. And so even down at the community level, my mother came to me and she says, oh, you told me you were taking this AI course. I said, yeah. She says, well, I want to do chat. And so she goes on there and I said, well, how long was chat thinking? Oh, she said, oh, it was great. It took 10 seconds. I said, if it's not thinking for 45 minutes or more, you're not doing anything. You're just touching the surface, if I'm being honest. And so those who have been in the cohort with me can say that between their deep research and their agents, how much they've gotten. So what I'm doing now is I am using AI to work for me. And so that if any time in this point when you see me or if you're around and things before, please reach out to me. Let's have that conversation, okay? And so dare to move your organization forward. Woo.
Woo! That was heat. All right. For such a time as this. It's crazy. And again, we're all building this stuff really rapidly. Like the 12 weeks goes really fast. It's 6 sessions, but it's bi-weekly. Yeah. It goes really fast, and like things like the presentation and the logos and the slides, it all culminates, and then we got to present. And so I'm going to bring up Brother Aki here. So the logo you see here, I hodgepodged. I put his name, but I hodgepodged like consultancy that he works with and kind of like made one as a placeholder. But Brother Aki did give me the slides this morning. So go ahead and make some noise for my good brother, Aki Durham, Grace Wellness Center.
Don't make too much noise, you might scare me. All right, before I get started, I want to ask everybody who is, whether you presented or not, if you're an active participant in one of the cohorts that just recently concluded, raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand. Raise your hand, whether or not you presented already, raise your hand, right? The reason why I'm asking you to do that, keep your hands up, raise your hand, keep your hands up. All right, keep your hands up if you have a background in sales, marketing and promotions, or graphic design. Keep your hands up if. All right, and in spite of the fact that most of the hands went down, all of you have been doing a great job. Your presentations look wonderful. My hand is still up. My presentation is not gonna look better than any of yours, and that is in part because of the work you did and because of the support we received from folks like Adam and folks like Jordan, so give them and yourselves a round of applause. All right. So my name is Aki Jamal Durham. I wear a number of hats, as Jordan just kind of alluded to. The hat I am representing here today is a counseling organization that I work with called Grace Wellness Center. That is our parent company. We have several different arms of counseling and wellness services, most of which integrate faith with clinical understandings and methodologies of counseling and therapeutic work. We had an idea years ago to start a nonprofit because as a Christian organization, we often had people calling for services who assumed the services were free because they were faith-based, which was not the case for us. We understood their misunderstanding, and we wanted to try to bridge the gap by creating a nonprofit arm to bring in funds to possibly fund those people's counseling resources. That was an idea. It's remained an idea because we were so busy trying to grow the different arms of the business that we thought starting a nonprofit was a barrier, right? And so because I had relationships with folks at the Forbes Fund and GPMP, I was told to maybe consider working with these cohorts and learning what this might do for our organization. Now, as a counseling organization, you might assume we're probably leery of AI. As a faith-based organization, you might assume we are now doubly afraid, if you will, of AI. We're very forward thinking. Our organization is filled with folks of just about every ilk and theology, every Protestant arm, and a couple Catholics. And we all think very differently, and we bring our thoughts to the table collectively to try to build not only capacity, but to make sure we serve people as broadly and as well as possible. So we're tinkering with what AI looks like. Our founder, he's a thinker and a creator. He's been playing with AI for a while. I thought I was an early adopter, and I thought I was ahead of the curve. This is a bit of a full circle moment because I mentored a gentleman who was a student at CMU, may or may not have been one of your students. His name was Frank Frisbee. He's from Delaware. Came to town, and a young man who I had mentored prior to him introduced us so I could also mentor this young man. He was building AI. He works as an AI engineer for the Department of Defense. He was creating one that was working the stock market. He's up 90% year over year for the past 3 years in a row. I'll give you his number if you want to try. But and he also created something called Co-Founder that tried to help people build their networks with intentionality, helpful for entrepreneurs, that sort of thing. I did a lot of beta testing stuff for him before I thought AI was even going to be a thing. And before ChatGPT was out in the market, he said, you got to sign up. You got to sign up. They're going to release this thing called ChatGPT. It's going to be your first opportunity to use AI on your own, blah, blah, blah. Again, thought I was an early adopter, thought I was good at prompt engineering. I was probably better than most, probably better than average, and yet I was sorely lacking. We took an idea that went from a two-partner thought process. I happened to do some work on the radio with K-Love Radio, National Christian Broadcasting Organization, and thought about the possibility of them promoting what would be this nonprofit counseling fund, right? You reach a broad audience, you reach a national audience. We already had the infrastructure built. I've got people all over the country that work for our organization. It's there, we just gotta have somebody promote it for us, right? Seemed like a good idea, and it was. But when I joined these cohorts, what went from a great idea of a two-pronged partnership became this great idea that was a full-blown ecosystem, right? Because of what I was able to learn through prompt engineering. As much as I want to sell what we're doing, and I do, please come see me afterwards if you want to hear more about what we're doing, because it went from just a radio station and a counseling organization to EAPs, to research organizations, to colleges and universities. What we realized is there were a lot of wins and that there were actually organizations who were looking for people like me to give money to that I didn't know existed, right? Those opportunities became open to me. My mind became open to those opportunities because of the ways in which I learned to expand my thinking about partnering with an AI, right? It was just said by Shar, build a relationship with your AI. You get an opportunity to create the subject matter expert that you could build from scratch. You build perfect, I think you said $300? No, build yourself a $1,000 an hour subject matter expert. Imagine this is, and I won't reference the movies, but imagine this is your dating coach. And not only are they your dating coach, they can teach you how to build your own personal dating app. Screw all the generalized dating apps. I'm gonna use your name, Tom. I'm building the Tom-specific dating app for Tom. And it's not gonna get anybody here but Tom. It understands all the love languages. It understands his socioeconomics, blah, 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 blah. And the only people that are gonna show up are the 2 or 3 people that make the best and perfect sense for him. And he will get to date them the way he wants to date them or shoo them to the side because they don't fit the model. At the end of the day, here's all I'm saying. Broaden your thinking. Continue to allow yourself to get exposed. The AI train has already left this station. You're either on board, you're getting left behind, or you're getting run over.
We're landing the plane, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you, I promise you, I promise you. Really quickly, do you guys have your phones on you? I'm gonna skip a couple slides. I wanna see y'all pull out your phones. Yeah, you've seen this done at conferences before. Pull out your phone. Everybody pull it out, pull it out, pull it out, pull it out, pull it out. Because I need you guys to test this QR code. I'm not sure if it works. Earlier, it required a login. Tell me if this requires a login when you guys do it. Because if so, that would be a problem. Does it open a form? Okay, cool. So that form is to be able to give us a little review back. The Force Funds has a ton of programs. You're gonna see the list of the programs, and you can select, and we'll follow up with you. If you wanna talk about AI stuff and where you're at, we're here for you. We also built with one of our tech partners like an evaluation survey. It's free. You guys can we'll send it to you if you guys fill this out. We'll send you guys the survey, and then we will send you your results. And if you need help, advocating to your board or to funders or to executive directors or the like, we can help you with this, all right? And everybody got it? Anybody else need it really quickly? Uh-oh. Let me get out of the way. And I'm gonna roll the slides back and I'm gonna bring Adam back up here. But really quickly before I do, if you're an alumni of an AI cohort program, can you raise your hand? Raise your hand all the way up. Look around, y'all. There's a handful of them. They're sprinkled in and throughout. I see Kingsley Association, I see Class, AAA. Who are you with? Yeah. Kingsley, okay, very awesome. So Kingsley, I saw Brother Dexter Hairston here, and then Alex was here. Okay, wonderful. All right, well with that, I will go back. Thank you guys for doing that. Seriously, it's a really short form. Let us know what you guys thought about it. It'll be me that follows up with you. It won't be like an AI robot or anything like that. And I'll be happy to talk to you guys about your own problems and your own solutions. And with that, I give it back to Adam.
Thanks, Jordan. Okay, we need a big round of applause for everybody that had the courage to stand up here and talk about AI. So before we get into it, I just want to take a moment to say that AI is both scary, amazing, frustrating, weird, obvious, intuitive, coming together. Apparently makes everyone nervous enough where we throw things on the floor. It's a combination of stuff. I just want to highlight, though, that AI is just simply an enabler to increase the impact you have in your community. 5 years from now, it might be like this virtual reality machine. Years from that, it might be a time machine. We'll see where it goes. But the reality of it is that AI is something that works inside of your organization to amplify what you are doing, to reduce the friction, and ultimately to have a bigger impact. The thing I want to kind of leave everybody with is that there's 3 cohorts here that you might consider advancing your org with, but it all starts with human problems. If you have a program that you've been talking about for 2 or more years, this might be a way to flesh it out. If you're not sure how to adapt your program that's been incredibly successful over the last 10 or 15 years, this is an opportunity to reinvent or rethink that program. If you find yourself having really, really long, drawn-out conversations with corporate partners or foundations or big and small dollar donors, it might not be the message you have, it might be how they're hearing it. And that's a little bit about cohort 2. And then for those of us that don't love to eat and have answers at 8 p.m. at night and on the holidays and everything else, that's what cohort 3 is all about. But last year, we had a really interesting moment together. Was anyone here last year at the Demo Day? All right, real quick, there's a couple of us, but we talked about this idea of more power together. And I just want to give a quick plug of those that don't know. If you go to morepowertogether.org, it's about 690 different AI guides that represent nonprofits in Southwestern PA that live by what we call the 0-second referral mantra, meaning you should be able to get from any nonprofit to any nonprofit without somehow mythically going to church with someone or seeing them on the weekends or your kids play sports together or whatever it is. This idea represents something that we want to make more accessible because we have, does anyone know how many nonprofits we have in the 12 county area? 8,500. Not even counting 4-H's and things like that. So the idea here is, I want to kind of bring your attention, if you are not part or you have not sort of taken a look at morepowertogether.org, this is your opportunity to understand what resources are out there, but it's more importantly a way for us to actually send a single URL to all those like fancy lawyers that live downtown and everybody else that's got too much money to spare to attract things like dollars and donations, volunteers, and everything in between. So I just want to make sure that's on the horizon. Now, if Fred, you want to come out and hang out with me here for just a second. We have a little round of applause for Fred and his picture. You're looking sharp. Yeah, that's right. High school graduation. Listen, I just wanted to say that it's really easy to understand and be so proud of the people that are on here today. But 3 years ago, what do you think happened when we said the word AI and nonprofit in the same sentence?
Crickets.
Scary. Everyone's like, So listen, there's so many things that are impactful what the Forbes funds do, but one of the things I'm most proud of is they're willing to be first. It's easy to be last, right? It's easy to watch everybody else do it. It's easy to have such fragility in your life that you can't handle a little bit of constructive feedback or people challenge you. Because let me tell you right now, the way these cohorts go is that there's about a third of each cohort in the first to second session that is like want nothing to do with AI. They were voluntold to be here. They were told that this is the next best thing. They just have to sit. And by like session 4 or 5, they start to get excited. By session 6, they're like raving fans, right? And that is natural and that is okay because this is unnerving and weird and new, and that's all right, but we do it together and there's a real reason in that. But I just want to reintroduce Fred Brown, those that don't know, as the CEO of the Forbes Fund. Let's give him a big round of applause for being first.
Sometimes people look at what we're doing and they think it happened overnight. It did not. Adam and I and Kit have been working together for 10 years before I even got to the Forbes Fund. And so first of all, I want to honor and thank each one of you for coming out and spending time with us. You guys could have been somewhere else, but you chose to be here with us. So I pray that you make a connection here that you didn't walk in the door with, and it is prosperous for you and your family and your community. So we find ourselves at the precipice of our very humanity. AI is pushing against us in ways we've never thought. We're dealing with uncertainty at a level that we've never seen before. Wars are breaking out around the world, and yet we are still charged with saving humanity. Nobody took that off our plate. Matter of fact, they took money away that we used to have to do it. And so now, with the last president, he put a package together that saved us. It carried us forward. And so I feel like a lot of people have this illusion that somebody else is coming to save us. I don't think that's happening unless somebody has different information than I do. Given that, it is incumbent upon us to be more self-reliant. What does AI do? AI is a tool for humanity. It is not taking over humanity. The less you get involved with it, the greater your fear is. It's like anything you don't know, you fear it. The greater capacity you have to understand it, unpackage its understanding, the greater understanding you have that you contribute to its well-being. I would say my greatest concern is most of the people who've put this together don't look like me. And so the AI doesn't have a strong cultural context as it relates to my experience. And so those of you who look like me that are hesitant to get involved, you're looking at a window that's closing that we don't have a choice whether it happens or not. AI is here, it's not going anywhere. What we do to persuade it to have a more humanity-centered design is our responsibility. It's not anybody else's responsibility. So whatever fears you have that make you feel like you can't do it, you have to confront those fears. Because humanity needs us to be at the table. Google did a study many years ago to look at the cross-functional teams versus homogeneous teams. Who outperformed who, right? Cross-functional teams outperform the homogeneous teams. Why? Because diversity is a good thing. Inclusion is a good thing. It's up to us to tackle the things that are in front of us. Recently, this organization has went through a significant 18-month journey. We separated from a 44-year relationship with the Pittsburgh Foundation, right? A $1.5 billion company. We are at the very inception of being a startup, basically, with about $9 million in our endowment. We're not broke, but we're not rich. The kind of mindset that's required to move from running an intermediary foundation to starting your own business is not an easy transition, and I dare say most of my people still don't get it. Because for I don't know how many years you've been in nonprofit, there's a malaise that you have about doing business because you get a grant and it ends at this period. When you're an entrepreneur, if there ain't a grant, you don't eat. That's a different construct. And so we are at a place where people is not coming to save us, and there is a tool that enhances our ability to save ourselves. And not only save ourselves, but create a condition that we work better with other people because we're using strategy that's based upon our operational standards that advance our ability to work with other people in a very serene and positive way because we've tested and verified KPIs that work for us, that align with us, that enhance us. When I took over the Forbes Funds 8 years ago, I froze our assets and restructured our grant making. And I went to everybody I knew and said, no single organization can solve today's problems by itself because they're too complex. Why would I say that? I had 30 years on the other side. And so this picture made me laugh because that's how I looked 9 years ago. I mean, I looked at that picture and was like, dang. I looked like that 9 years ago, so is that what happens when you go downtown? I don't know. But I will say to you, it's been the best journey for me. We started something called TLC, Transformational Leadership Cohort, or Transformative Leadership Cohort. And really, we're using golf as a metaphor for complexity theory to help emerging leaders do rapid prototyping. Why is that critical? Because AI is not optimized if your organization doesn't have a business model. It will help you enhance what you currently do, but it won't look at market analysis, trends, saturation, niches that your company could master as a result of understanding that. And so what I'm asking you to consider is, if this thing is not going away, what is your commitment to understand how to optimize it for the greater use of your organization, your community, and the people you serve? That's an obligation we have because it is not going away. We serve as a safeguard to help people understand that. It has to have a humanity-centered design, not because it should, but because we have to make that happen. Nobody's going to do that for us. And so as we sit here, what I want you to leave here thinking about is, this work is just beginning. When we started this work 3 years ago, Adam, this wasn't shifting every week like it is now. I mean, it was like we had a projection. We was like, in 6 months, it'll do this. In 8 months, it'll do. Now that's doing it. It's doing that in 8 days. Like, we've never seen anything like this. So for us to sit here and think we know what's going on, that's a fallacy. We do not. What we do know is change is happening, and we also know that change moves at the speed of trust. If there is not trust, people will not move. So what are the things we have to do as humans to create trust that allows us to build new pathways, new ecosystems that are regenerative by design, not by accident, that we're intentional about, that is cross-functional? AI is a tool that can help enhance that. And so I'm thankful that you're here today. Did you want to put that other slide up? We did receive, oh, wow, who did that? Okay, all right. We did receive an OpenAI grant, and I think it's phenomenal. Can you give our team a hand? That was a national competition, and I felt proud of our team's work because we came out as a recipient, and we're kind of coming out of left field because as an intermediary, this is not our space, right? Notwithstanding, there is no such space anymore in this universe because everything we do is about surviving, right? And for me, I'm not into surviving, I'm into thriving. And so if this tool helps me optimize my organization's capacity and the AI grant treads the way or makes the way for that to happen, we all have to embrace those things that support us, right? And I'm not telling everybody in here we don't have a panacea on this, we do not. But I do know this, where two or more of us are gathered to try to solve a problem, that's better than me doing it by myself, right? But I also know this, that I have to be vulnerable and fully present to be in that space. And that takes courage. And without courage, I'm only a part of myself in this space. And so when we're able to be vulnerable and fully present, we're able to present ourselves to our partners and friends and colleagues in a way that they see us. Not the image of us, not the after image of us, but who we are in this moment. And nobody can tell me they're the same person they was last year, this time this year, because life has changed. And not anything we had control over. That's a result of external locus of control. How we react to that, Covey says, we are responsible for how we recover or react to that. We are response-able, right? And so when we look at this notion of what we're responsible for, at one level, I'm responsible for me, but am I my brother or sister's keeper? I have a responsibility not just to myself, but to the essence of humanity. And for me, technology will never replace the love I have for the people in this room, right? Technology cannot feel that. It cannot emit that. It can't emote that. It can't transmit that. It can give you a technical application of it, but you can spell love 100 times and never feel love, right? And so let's be clear about that. If we give that up willingly, that's on us. That's not on technology. So we have to own that to the very core of our soul that we recognize that every tool that's created is in the benefit of us as humans, right? Not to take over, but that requires us not to be afraid in this moment. And so, am I closing out? Oh. All right. I always like to close out with something simple. So I will say this to you, because those of you who don't know me, I'm pretty simple. I'll say this to you. Out of the night which covers me, black as a pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried out loud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond the place of wrath and tears looms but the horrors of the shade, and yet the minutes of the years shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gates, how charged with punishments the scrolls. I am the master of my faith. I'm the captain of my soul. Good night. God bless. Be safe.